Okay, welcome back everybody. So our next step will be to do the average button. Now to get the average of a number or set of numbers, you get the sum total of all the numbers and then divide it by the amount of numbers we've got. So in our total button, we actually created our I because we needed our for loop, had our sum variable, made it 0, went through 1 to 10, added them all together and then displayed the sum. So if we take that and then in our average we do the same thing. So again, our sum must be 0. We want to go through 1 to 10, add them all together, but then only difference is when we say the average is, but it would be sum divided by 10 because there was 10 numbers. And now that won't be an integer, that would be a float. And that's our average. For our next one, the highest one. So now we want to get the highest number between all of them. So to do this, we need our variables again. We want to go through all the numbers. We need our I, and we just need a variable where we can put the highest one. So I'm going to call it I. So our high must have a starting value. Each same as our sum button and the average button, we initialized our sum variable to 0. In this case, we need to initialize our high variable. One option would be to initialize the high number or the high variable to a very low number like 0. However, that's good in most cases. In this case, it would work fine because all our numbers are above 0. But if, let's say this program was used to measure temperatures in the Arctic, there all the numbers are below 0, and then 0 would actually be a high number. So our best option that will always work is if we use our array at position 1. That means we're going to assume the first number is the highest one and then just check all other numbers against that. So now we want our for loop, want to start at position 1. You can actually start at 2 because we already said the first one is the highest, so we didn't need to look at the first one again. But you can if you want to, it doesn't matter. I'm going to leave it there for now. So we want to go through all 10 numbers, and now we want to just check if the number in the array at position I, if that number is greater than our high variable. So if that number is greater than the high one, then that means the high variable must become that number, because that would be then the highest one. That would go through, in my if I didn't have a begin, so I don't have an end for it, so I just need to end the for loop one, and once we've done that, we can now just go and display our message. The highest number is, and then just display the variable high. In this case, however, high is again an integer, so we just need to int to string that variable, and that should give us our highest one. So in this case, again, this is very similar to our lowest one. So to do the lowest, only difference is we can maybe call our variable rather low. We can say the first number is the lowest. We want to go through all 10 numbers. If our number is less than low, then low must get that value, and then we can say the lowest number is low. That should work. We can display this thing. Again, remember to put in numbers. our average, there's our average, 56.4. The highest number is 94. If we look through them, the highest number is 94, and our lowest number is 12, and the lowest number is 12. Okay, so then when we do range, range is our highest number minus our lowest number. So I'm going to use the highest one again, but then with this we're just going to add low to it. So then in this case we're also going to assume low was numbers 1. So we're assuming the first number is the highest and the lowest number. We go through all the numbers. If the numbers is greater than high, then we're going to give that number to high, and we just add the if for if the array at position I is less than low, then low must just get the value of that array at that position. So we're seeing if the number is greater than high, then we give that number to high, and if the number is less than low, then we give it to low. It's not an else if, it's separate ifs, because that one works on its own to this one. And then at the end we can just say the range of numbers are, and we say the highest minus the lowest, and that would give us the range. Okay, median I'm going to skip for now. I'm going to go to sort first. Okay, with sort, this is one of our tricky algorithms. You can just sort of learn it off by heart, but it's good to understand it, so I'll try my best to explain this thing. So to sort our numbers, what we're going to do, we're going to do the bubble sort. I'm going to show you how to use the bubble sort algorithm. And what we basically want to do is we want to look for the, or take the first number and compare it with all other numbers and look for the smallest one. And every time we get a smaller one, we're going to swap it with the one we're busy with. So every time we're going to, let's say we had numbers, let's just go here, 34, 56, 23, 30, 33, and 77, and 30. Let's say we had those numbers. So we're going to go to the first position and then compare all others, and every time we get a smaller one like 23, then the 23 will go into his place and the 34 will go into the 23's place. And then we carry on looking and we see, is 33 smaller than 23? Is that smaller than 23? Is that smaller? No, it's not. So the first one is correct. Then this pointer goes to the next one. So we're going to have two pointers. First pointer indicating the first one. A second pointer going through all others, checking if there's one that's less than the first one. So then our first pointer goes to 2. Now we go through all the rest, the second pointer, to look if there's a smaller one than that. So this one was smaller, so this will go up. So we'll swap these two. Every time it's a swap. And then we go down. Is 33 less than 34? Yes, it is. So that goes up. 34 swaps with it. We look, is this one smaller? Yes, it is. So this one goes up. And this one goes down. That means the second one is right. So now the first pointer goes to the third one. And then our second pointer checks every time it gets a smaller one, swap, swap, swap. And at the end, all of them will be sorted. As you can see, the first two is already sorted. So the same will happen. We'll go to the third one, look for the smallest one, put it in there. Go to the fourth one, look for the smallest, fifth, and then at the end, all will be sorted. So that's how it works. As you can follow that I just said now, there's two pointers. The one pointer is the position we're looking for, and then the second pointer compares all numbers to that specific one. So we're going to have a first position and a second position. Both of them will be integers. And then you remember, every time we found a smaller one, we actually swapped them. So with a swap, you must remember the algorithm that I taught you with a swap. And with that algorithm, it was the one where there was a brother and sister, both of them wanted something to drink. You put water in the one glass, milk in the other glass, but then you realized that it was the wrong way around. So the only way to fix that was to get a third glass, and that I'm going to call temp. So a third glass, so that we can take the water, put it in the third glass, then we can take the milk, put it in the water glass, then you can take that third glass and put it into where the milk was, and in that case swap it. In this program we're using, I've got integer numbers, that's why my temp is an integer. If this program was working with names, this temp would be a string, because it needs to be the same data type of the array. Our array is integers, that's why temp is an integer. But I and j is the positions. I tells us which position we're looking for. J goes through all other numbers looking for if there's a smaller one. So they will always be integers. Only our temp would be of type that the array is. So what we do now, we need to have our for loop. The I for loop always starts at the first one, and it will stop at 1 before the last one. We've got 10 numbers, so you're going to subtract 1 from that. So it's actually 9. But I'm going to say this, it just helps us in the future. So it will always start at the first one, and it will go stop 1 before the end. While our next for loop, I'm going to use begins here, even though it was not needed. I'm going to use it just so that we understand better what's happening. So our next for loop now is our j for loop. And remember that j1, we didn't start at the top every time. We started at the number we were looking for. So we started at position I. But for this one, you don't need to compare. If you start at I, you're going to compare the first number to itself. So we can actually start at I plus 1. And then this one always needed to go to the end, because you needed to compare up until the last number. Then I'm going to also put a begin, even though that begin is also not needed. Now it was our comparisons. We needed to compare the numbers at position I. Remember, that's the position we want the smallest one at. So in the first case, I was 1, and we went through all other numbers to see if any of them were smaller than the first one. Then I becomes 2. So we wanted to see if any of the other numbers are smaller than numbers j. So we want to see if all the other numbers, if any of them were smaller than I. And in this, by this if, the begin is necessary. This begin must be there. Okay, if you wanted to leave out the begins for the two for loops, that was fine. But the if must have is begin, because we've got 3 lines inside here. Because our temporary one needs to get numbers I. So we save numbers I in temp. Now numbers I is basically empty. So now numbers I can get the value of numbers j. So now we basically emptied numbers j, even though it's technically not empty, but we saved its number in there and i's number is saved in there. So then numbers j can get the value of temp. So now they swapped around. So this is your algorithm for sorting. And once you've done that, then we just need to display again. So it would be similar to our change button, because we needed to display everything again. So I'm just going to go look where's the change quickly. So we just want to display all the numbers again. So this piece we can just copy, because with the sorting we want to do the same thing. We need to shuffle all the numbers now. So what we need to do is we need to clear the display, go for loop 1 to 10, and then display all the numbers again. And that will then display them all sorted. Let's quickly see if this works. So we just put some numbers in, and then when we sort this, it's from small to big. So this is sorting them ascendingly. You'll see if you wanted to sort them descendingly, it would look exactly the same. Only difference is that symbol you'll just change. Once you change that symbol, it will sort them descendingly. Okay, then our last button was the median button. Now the median button is a higher level button. It is more difficult, but we need to know it, so we'll learn it. So for median, first step you need to understand in maths what median is. Now in maths, median is your middlemost number of a sorted list. So that means you can't assume the list is already sorted. It might have been the person could click this button without having to have clicked the sort button first. So what we want to do is our button sort. Sort. We just want to click. So if you do this line of code, it will actually click the button for you. So this button sort will be clicked. So you'll see if we just at this stage do that and then click the median button, it will actually do the sort for us. Okay, we need to do this because the sort needs to be done. Now once the sort is done, now we can start looking for the middlemost number. Now we know there's 10 numbers. So in maths, if there's an even amount of numbers, you have to take the middlemost two numbers, add them together and divide by 2. So in this case, let's create a variable for this. And let's just call it med. Okay, so for this case, to get the median, we need to take numbers. Okay, you'll see this, the way we're doing it now is actually easier. In the following programs, it might get more difficult when we don't know how many numbers there are. But in this case, we knew there's an even amount of numbers. So we'll take the numbers at position, you'll see position 5 and 6 is our two middlemost numbers. So we'll take the numbers at 5 and the numbers at position 6. That's our middlemost ones. So we'll have to add them together and then divide by 2. So because we divide by 2, that means our median won't be an integer, it will actually be a double. Add them together, divide by 2, and then we can just show message this the median is, and then we just need to float to string our variable, and that should be median. So let's quickly see if this is gonna work. So we click median, and median is 0 because all my numbers are 0 because I never entered numbers. So let's just enter some numbers and then click median. So it sorted them. Middlemost is 41 because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. 40 and 42 is the two middlemost numbers. Add them together, 82 divided by 2 is 41. So that's correct. Okay, that's our basics for an arrays program, working with integers. I've given you another program inside there that's very similar to this one. I would want you to please do that one. WhatsApp me any problems. See if you can get all of this sorted. Thank you very much, everybody. Good luck, and then I'll see you next time with a bit more complicated program.